Welcome to episode 20 of the All Things All podcast. This week we have left the north and we've come down to Essex, and I'm joined by Harley from KW Tree Care. Mate, well, I don't even know where I am in the world at the moment. I've been on the M1 till the end of it, then I went round the M25 about 4 times.
Yeah.
Where are we currently, and why does it have so many roundabouts?
We're in Harlow. It's sort of, well, nearish Harlow. It's quite a new town, so everything's big, all big roundabouts, and there's about 1 million of them. So
I've not seen a T-junction in about 12 miles.
No.
It's like we're using Waze coming down, and half a mile, second exit on the roundabout, another exit on the roundabout, another exit on the roundabout.
Yeah.
Must be absolute murder.
I live 15 minutes away, and I think I go past 11 roundabouts to get home, so it's pretty decent.
Absolutely insane. So we were talking just off camera just now. You've got a really different way into the industry. It's like do you run the business yourself?
Yeah.
Or
So
it's a
50-50 partnership. So Adam brings the technical expertise.
Yeah.
I sort of bring more of the sales aspect.
So Adam does all the hard work, and you sit at home taking the percentage.
No, I'm there on the jobs. I'm there.
Because it's a little bit different. We were just talking. You come from a sales and marketing background into tree work, where most of the lads in the industry, they'll go to college, they get the qualifications, then they'll go and set off their own business. So how did it all come about for you?
So sort of like I was saying before, me and Adam were actually flatmates before. I was in a job in sales, and he'd just started off at a tree surgery company that did a lot of North London's council trees and that sort of stuff. And we got talking one day about price work, and I was fascinated by it. You know, remove basal growth, £6, or whatever. I thought, wow, you could stack loads of them in a day. Obviously, nowhere near as easy as what it sounds, but. So we got quite interested then. We started talking about sort of rates in the industry, and he said he had a private job coming up this weekend where he was going to earn £200 himself. He was just there to, cut and drop, leave all the waste there. And I thought, £200 in a day, that's not bad, I'm on 80 quid a day in sales and stuff. So really piqued my interest. So then we sort of came to an agreement where I said, I'm happy to do some advertising, see if I can get you some jobs in. Obviously, I know nothing about tree work, so I'll just leave it to you and your mate to go and do the job, and I'll take a 10% commission. So I think we did that for a couple of jobs. And then on the third job, which was a real meaty one, Adam said, would you be able to come down and give us a hand? I said, all right, well, we'll...
Office boy on the tools now.
Yeah. So I thought, we'll certainly give it a go, see what it's like. And, sort of in there quite at the deep end. So it's this big Robinia. Needed rigging and everything like that. I'd never done rigging before. I'd barely done any manual labour in my life, so it was a real school day that day. And what a nightmare job that ended up turning into. I think we were there till like 8:30 at night by the time we did it. Terrible money on it, in hindsight now.
So terrible money on it, and the guy from the sales and marketing, getting punished for that one, mate. Getting punished for it.
100%.
So I know, me included, we'll look at the job. Our minimum base rate was I'm going back 4 or 5 years ago, was 250. Man and chipper would go out, try and get it to 325, 350. That's where we'd start making a decent enough profit on it. But with what I found out a couple of years into the industry it is turnover. You've got to try and get the clients coming through, because you can stack 4 or 5 little pruning jobs on. You've made the payday for everyone, and then you get the big ones like the Robinia, where you've ended up, I'll put 800 quid on it. How much have you left with a Harley? Well, after everything, 25 quid.
Yeah.
Oh, perfect.
Literally, that one was a nightmare. We put £650 on it. And like I say, we were there for 14 hours doing this job. We borrowed Adam's boss's van and chipper. So there's 150 quid off of the 650 already. So we're down to 500. We've had to pay the other guy with the trailer extra because he's been there for, 14 hours. I think we ended up walking away with about 190 quid each. But back then that was the most I'd ever earned in a day. And to feel it in your back pocket, it was knackering. I fell asleep as soon as I got home, but it was great to physically go from nothing, from the phone call to getting a job done. Like, it's quite an achievement early on to go, you've seen the job through. It was much harder than we thought, but we've seen it through, we've got paid from it, and it's just a really, really good feeling, money aside.
So you still going out on the tools, or are you more office-based now? Because looking at those shades, don't look like got many marks on them.
I'm trying to get away from being on every job, but I'm still on quite a lot. We basically started in 2016, and we were just doing... I was still in my office job for 3 years after we'd started the business, and we were just working weekends, building up our client base. So unfortunately for Adam, he was doing 7 days a week for probably 2 years. 7 days a week was easy for me because I'm in an office for 5 of those days. You know, easiest job in the world. He's doing 5 days hard graft and then spending his 2 days off on jobs that, you know, should take 3 days, but we're cramming it in 2. So we've come a long way from that, and we've changed our pricing structure massively since then.
So KW3K, where did the name come from?
So we've got no imagination whatsoever. My surname's Waite, Adam's surname's King, KW.
Easy
That's
days.
it. Yeah.
I should have come up with better questions for that one. So your role in the business now primarily is?
So I'm still on the jobs, but we're trying to really move away from domestic and push further into the commercial sector. I feel like we've given the domestic market a good go for a couple of years now, and there is good money to be made, but not really on the same level as commercial. But the problem with commercial is that it's too much. I think it's too much for a 3 or 4 man crew. That's all we are. For Adam to on his own to go do all the jobs, and then go out and quote, then do all the compliance that comes with commercial work. Like before a job that's on, you might spend 2 hours doing your RAMs for it, or you've got to organise getting your CSCS card sorted, your CHAS accreditation, all of this stuff. It's just unrealistic to be able to do that in a working week without, you know, doing 15 hours every day. You're working weekends.
People look at commercial work and they only dip the toes in. So we looked at it and we only did like 1 or 2 Tesco car park jobs, and it was a case of we never had someone similar to yourself who could just take care of the compliance, who could take care of doing the quoting and the bidding. And I think that's only been in the last couple of years. But the owners of the business have started to go, right, I can run it, but I kind of do need to be behind the desk a lot more than I realise. And then on top of that, you need a good climber or a good team leader who can load develop in the morning, get the lads ready. Then you have the good groundsman. But between the climber and the company owner, does need to be that little middle person.
100%.
That I think only really forward-thinking businesses cotton on early and go, well, we've got the work coming in, sales and marketing's doing good, let's get a bidder in and just either give him a percentage of each job. If he wins it, it'll encourage him to work harder to get that work in.
I mean, the other angle from it that really, really helps with us is, even if we're quoting a domestic job, having a partnership in, I know it can be a bit iffy having a partnership in a business, because sometimes you might disagree. We're quite fortunate that, I don't know, in 6 years I can't think of a major disagreement we've had. But when you're going to quote a job, I often might go too high or too low, and Adam tends to do the opposite. So I might come in at 1,000. He might go, no, it's going to be £2,000. It's 2 days' work or a day and a half's work. We need to be much higher because you haven't thought about the tipping. And I think, you know, like, thank God I've got someone else to shoot the ideas forward and back, and that transformed like our business definitely.
Yeah, because I've said this story before to people who I speak to. My first job, 250 quid, took me 5 days to do it.
Wow.
Yeah, I ended up basically the customer. We arrived on the Monday. It was only 4 ashtrays I had to prune, but I was like maybe about 6 months of college experience. I'm like, oh, I'll do it. A bit of happy money to play with. But that went wrong. At what stage where were you comfortable going out to a job and going, right, I know what the ops cost of it is going to be. Is it always different for every client? Say you've got 2 clients on the same street. One client's got a Mercedes, the other one's got a Mazda.
Oh, so their income or whatever has nothing to do with how we adjust our prices. So we're not affordable for everyone. So we kind of changed the mindset of, rather than let's be the tree service for everyone, it's not realistic. Like, unfortunately, not everyone can afford us, because we're offering a different level of service to what we were doing when we were on £300 a day 6 years ago. You know, we're answering emails same day, ideally within an hour. We're booking quotes same day. The customers, you know, I think the customer service that we deliver sort of relates to the amount we charge. I'd say we're probably quite high in what we charge.
You never really think of customer service in the tree surgery business.
It's so important. It's so important. Like we at least 3 times a week, I'll get an email back saying, Harley, you were the most expensive out of the 3 quotes, but we're going with you because of X, Y, and Z. But the only reason I can provide X, Y, and Z customer service is because we're charging what we're charging. Like, if you're on low rates and you're rushing the next job, or you haven't got the money spare to have someone like me be separate from every job, you're going to make mistakes. You're going to forget to call someone back. You're going to forget to send the quote. Customers don't like that.
Do businesses need to have like systems in place? Because I know the industry is still crying out for like a really decent CRM.
I think once you get to a point where you've got managers and that sort of stuff, and you're a whole different beast. I think a lot of what I'm going to say today is really just covering probably what 80% of tree surgery business are, which maybe one or two gangs. And I think for one or two gangs, you don't need it. Like the way we do things, from the point I get a phone call from a customer, Google Calendar, put their details in. I always try and give them an appointment whilst they're on the phone to me. So rather than trying to remember to call them back or anything like that, on the phone, I'll say, look, can you do next Wednesday between 10 o'clock and 12 o'clock? Always try and give a wide quote time, so then you can't be late. And then just take address, details, email address, pop it in there for a little time slot, and you've got their details. So by the time you go there and do the quote, I always make sure quotes are sent out the same day that we see the client. It's really important to do that. And then we use QuickBooks for raising the quote, tracking all our expenses, invoicing, everything like that. So it's super, super easy.
What's your thoughts on giving prices while you're in front of the customer?
Never do it.
Never. I've always done it.
No.
I've always looked at the job and went, it'll be this much, and you get yes or no. I don't like having to go back to the office and then going, right, I need to work it all out. I'd rather give a price there and then.
Now, I think your price, I was taught this by someone else, you've kind of got to wince yourself a little bit when you say the price. So I don't like to do that in front of the customer. I don't like them to be under any pressure or anything like that. And, you know, any elderly customers, I send them a link to the Arbor Association with every single quote and say, look, get 2 or 3 other quotes from Arbor-approved contractors. We're not Arbor-approved, by the way, but get it from Arbor-approved contractors. But no, I always want to do it on an email. It's just so much easier. They're at their own leisure then to make the decision. They're not forced to a decision. I'm not forced to quickly make up a price on the spot. Sometimes I want to sit down and really work it out. Even if it's a basic tree, I still want a bit of time. But it's mostly because I can go back and go, Adam, here's the pictures. What do you reckon? I've already got a price in my head.
Yeah, get that.
And he'll either be on the same or we'll be there or thereabouts, and we'll adjust up or down. Or he'll see something like, you know, we've had one before, shown him the picture, and he's gone, you know, there's a power line behind that tree. Oh. Yeah, I totally missed that. So could you imagine if I did give the price to the customer there and then?
He's exceptionally cheap. What is that?
So yeah, I try and avoid that as much as possible.
Yeah. So how did you come to, because I know obviously your operations cost, they kind of fluctuates every other month. Do you have a set base of, right, this is what each job has to be, and then we have a little bit of profit, and then we have a little bit of, I call it oh shit money or fudge factor money nowadays, just in case.
No, I like the idea.
So I'm really interested in this pricing strategy, because you seem to have it like pretty much nailed down. Where would I be wrong in saying you've not underbid yourself or overpriced anything in the last 6 months at least?
Oh no, we get things wrong all the time. Yeah, I've been a bit confused by some people who say that they don't get it wrong. You can have all the things in the world, Conifer's still going to catch you out.
Oh yeah.
It doesn't matter. It's we've done some prices where we've done a Conifer afterwards, and I've gone, that was easy. We had loads of money on that. Why was that so easy? And then the next job I go, oh yeah, it wasn't that bad last time we did 6 metre fell on a whatever Conifer. And then, it'll be completely different, and we'll be there for an extra day, and we've totally screwed up the price. I don't think, because it's not like a build-in quote that you're doing. Yeah. Every tree's different. You're bound to make a mistake, and you shouldn't feel bad because you've made a mistake. No. The main thing you've got to do is just see it through. If you've cocked up a price, see it through, because you'll get a bad review, and then that'll cost you a lot more in the future than doing that. But We've got systems in place, so it's more so that we can track our income monthly rather than we're not necessarily always looking at each particular job. Yeah. So I know what our running costs every day are, and I'm really happy to go into our exact figures. Cause
this is why I'm here, because it is a case of I want to know like how much a 2 to 3 man band you're doing compared to what I was doing like 3-4 years ago. So
I mean, we have to bear in mind a little bit, we're in a different area here, so pricing is probably different. I don't think commercial pricing is that different at different points in the country. I might be wrong, but a lot of our best commercial work's actually quite far out of the M25, north of it. So we'll sort of have to see, but we know what our baseline costs are every day. £608 is what it costs us to run this business every.
So what does all that include?
So we've got about, and we'll get that. Hopefully we can get this up on the screen so people can see. But off the top of my head, we've got about £8,500 a month in payroll, which is for 3.5 members of staff. So we've got someone who's part-time that we get on the jobs where we need 3 people or 4 people, or if I don't need to be there, he'll cover me. So that's probably our major. So off £8,500, that roughly works out to £425 a day working cost. But on top of that, you've got insurance.
Yeah.
Our advertising, I know we spend a lot more than most for such a small company, is £1,200 plus that a month we spend on advertising.
That doesn't actually sound a lot in terms of an advertising.
Yeah.
Because even me to promote this little podcast, I probably spend about between 6 and 800 a month,
Yeah.
and that'll be just making sure all of you lucky people get to see all of this. But yeah, for a tree surgeon business, that doesn't sound a lot. So where do you advertise? Are you looking at doing Facebook, stuff with Google?
So we've never had much success with Facebook, I'll be honest. It tends to attract, in my experience, the lower end of the market. I kind of want the way the sale to be is someone's in a position where they want the tree surgeon, so they're calling someone up anyway. I think a lot of the time on Facebook, you'll see the ad and you go, oh, I could do with that being done in my garden. You're not as committed as someone who's going, right, I need to call a tree surgeon. So all ours is Google AdWords, basically.
How are you getting on with are you targeting like a 25-mile radius from your postcode or?
So we've got 3 separate websites.
So you're dominating the SEO. I know your strategy already.
Yeah, it's something we're trying to move away from, actually. We're trying to do it a bit more. But it does work, yeah. So we'll choose certain areas. I won't lie, some of them are quite affluent areas, or a whole borough. We've got a whole borough that we target just because I get on fairly well with the tree officers, so I can get things through quite easily.
It's all about tree officers later, aren't we?
Also, they don't get on with a lot of tree officers as well, so, you know, each way. But yeah, so about £1,200 a month on that. Insurance, probably about £350 a month. We have to pay for a lot of our commercial contracts. We need to have a health and safety team that we can call at any point for advice. Yeah. That's about £120 a month. And rent's £325 a month here, which is pretty decent, I'd say, considering we've got tipping facilities and everything like that.
I know, you can get a good couple of ton outside, I've just seen as we come in.
Yeah.
Are all the lads on payroll or self-employed?
Everyone's PAYE. I'm sort of a firm believer in that. If you want commitment from people, you've got to offer them commitment as well by giving them a full-time contract. So we don't. The only person who's on part-time is because it suits him. I don't like the idea of self-employed people. I kind of want them to know that if they're injured, we got you covered. Your holiday's covered, your taxes are sorted, and then they can just turn up to work, do a good day's work and go home, kind of thing. So I think it works out in total, to get back on costs, about £608 a day. So we need to charge £608 plus that. So I think that's about £730, £720 to break even. And we're not running a charity, we're not running a not-for-profit, so we need to get a fair bit above there. So again, to be completely transparent, I'm sure some people are saying my prices are too high, others will say you're not charging enough, so we're never going to win. But we try and aim for between 1,000 and 1,300 plus VAT a day is kind of where we want to be at now with a 3-man, 4-man crew. We've kind of learnt that there really isn't money in big trees. So big trees
means big equipment and big expenses. I learned that very quickly as well.
It's it just doesn't translate. Like it's so much easier to do 300-400 ash fells this big. You can knock them out. You'd be back at the yard by 1 or 2 o'clock. Than it is to do a £1,200 tree, and it only gets worse if it's like a $5 or $6 grand tree. I think it's because in our industry, I don't know why, because if it was a building job, they'd be like, right, we've got 2 weeks on it. No one wants to spend 1 or 2 weeks on one tree. But some trees need it. Not often, but some trees do need it. So we've lost jobs before, and the price that other people have gone in at, you've got to be making a loss on it. You just got to be. And I don't understand why it's so much harder.
The first question, no one actually knows what their base rate is. It's like, you've got your base rate sorted out. You know if you won't take the job if it's less than that, because it's not financially viable. But there are guys listening to this and watching this podcast who go, oh, well, I only cut myself last week, but I kind of needed the work just to keep us ticking over.
See, this is my biggest gripe with the industry. I feel like there's too many companies have gone for turnover. So turnover is a vanity project. Profit is where your sanity is at. So there's a lot of firms that have gone, I want 3-4 gangs out there, so I'm getting you. But I think if you haven't mastered it with the first gang and you're not making a decent amount of profit, you're jumping the gun by going on to a second gang. I don't think we would go down the route of a second gang until we're turning away £1,500 a day kind of jobs, because you've got to put a value on your own mental health as well. Of, I'm in a really happy position at the minute, so is Adam, where there is a lot of work to be done after we finish each day, but we're pretty happy. If we took a second gang, you're doubling the amount of bullshit.
Yeah.
And there's enough bullshit in one gang. So
again, people, they'll book so much work in and they'll go, oh, we need to get a second team of lads in. And they don't realise, no, you've booked all that work in at such a low rate, you're having to get the second gang in just to say to the customer, oh, we'll be there in 2 weeks' time. And you'll get past that 2 weeks and you'll look at the end of the month and go, oh, we did 15 grand this month, why haven't we made any money? Well, we only brought a second team of lads in, that's a little bit too expensive. And then you start going, there'll be someone else who'll work for cheaper. Then you'll bring that person in. And then you could end up having, I've seen one business literally have like 15, 16 people working for them, and I'm going, God, you must be doing all right for yourself. I'm absolutely stressed out, I can't bear to do it. And I'm getting up at 5 in the morning, and I'm going, all right, I thought you were being really successful, what's gone wrong? I don't know. And it's like, well, do you speak to anyone outside of the business? Do you get help? I look on forums, I look on the Facebook groups, I ask what I should be, the best question I see on the industry, how much to charge for this job? When you ask that question, get out of the industry, just go do something else.
You've got to learn the hard way when you're pricing jobs. But again, it just comes back to the turnover thing. So that chap with 16 people, he's gone for high turnover, when it would just be, his life would be so much easier if he was just going for profit, complete one gang, make sure that's working well, and then move on. So I think as a general rule, if your costs are, say like ours, £600, you want at least 50% of that as your profit. So 600 would go to 900 as a minimum, plus VAT is really the minimum that you should be at, because what that profit does is it saves you when, so there's some certain running costs that you can never plan for. So say a member of staff goes ill, he's injured himself for 2 months or something. I want to be in a position where I can say, you genuinely hurt yourself, don't worry about not paying your rent on your flat this month, I've got you. And that's what we want to have the profit set aside for, or for when, not if, for when you get robbed. We were last burgled, I was saying, back in December. We were insured for the main stuff, the chipper and that, but climbing kits we weren't, just because I thought it was too much hassle listing every serial number. I'm an idiot for it, but so, and then when you actually go, climbing kit, it's probably only 500 quid each. Well, it's not when you're actually replacing everything. It soon adds up to a lot of money. That combined with all your moving costs and everything else, that's something you've got to factor into your jobs. And the outlook that we've changed is someone's got to pay for that, and unfortunately it is the customers. And that's more of a problem for the government to deal with, like nail down your crime and then the costs of businesses go down. But that's just something that you really need to cover for you. And I think there's probably a direct correlation between the cheaper you are as a company, this won't be for everyone, but the harder you've got to push your staff to do 2 jobs in one day, because rather than we might get away with, we've got enough money on that one job to go 12 o'clock, we're going back to the yard. They're working till they're working till 3 or 4 o'clock. And like I think you had someone on about barber chairs not too long ago.
Tom, I know you're watching. Tom, hope you're well, mate.
And he made a really good point of, he thinks most injuries happen between 3 and 4 o'clock when you're tired, when you're rushing, and it's almost certainly when jobs are underpriced and you're rushing to get it done. So there's probably a correlation between the price that you charge and the risk of being injured, and your own mental health from being stressed of, the grinder's broke this month, it's £2,000 to fix it. We're in a fortunate position where if something breaks, I don't feel personally attacked by it. I know the money's there in the account, we just get it fixed.
I think that's a rarity businesses can say that, because again, since I've stopped doing tree work, I'm starting doing podcasting full time, and it's strange to go, right, we've actually got money in the bank to carry on to do trips going all over the UK now. But even it must have took me about 3 years before I had enough money in the bank to go, right, if something breaks, I'm not going to be panicking, or I'm not going to go, right, I'm on 7 days for the next 2 months to try and bring that back up. What type of equipment are you running at the moment?
So, like I said, we're not actually massive. We've got we've had to downsize from the ST8 that was stolen to get an ST6P, because at the time funds were a bit tight. before we had a change of mindset on pricing and keeping 3 months costs in the bank at all time. So we've got an ST6P now, got a Predator 38X stump grinder, got a little skid steer, the little Sherpa, the little Sherpa ones. It's small but it's good.
Right, this is, if Steve's listening, he's not going to like me. I wholeheartedly, I do love Multi-One. I think Multi-One products are the best. I'm not a fan of Advance, so if Advance, I'm never going to sponsor.
Yeah,
I don't like them. I don't know what, I just don't like them. But the Sherpas, I think they're ugly. Honest to God, I think they are. Compared them to the Wakey quads, I think the Wakey quads look ace.
Yeah.
I call them the way podcast just went out yesterday, the wonky quads, because they don't have to. What are the Sherpas like? Are they quite balanced? I've never used one yet.
If you're doing it, they can definitely lift a lot more than what they should. So obviously our health and safety guy now is probably going to start screaming
so
at me
it stays
if he's
well
watching
under
this.
the safe working logo now
all the time. There's definitely never 3 people hanging off the back of it to get the log onto the back of the van. Never ever. It's good for that. And then probably one of our favourite little purchases, and it was only £2,000, was you heard of the CS100 little 4-inch green mech chipper on wheels?
Oh yeah. So my mate Rob Rainford, I started off working with him, just doing little side jobs, and he bought a little CS100. Mate, we'd be there like 5 inch, like getting anything in it, just overloading it. Absolutely fantastic chipper. When you have that client who says, "Oh, would like to chip," and it's a really small tree, out comes that down the garden. Oh, it's happy days. But yeah, I like the Evo 165 that they've come out with, but that little CS, any business that's starting out,
it
will just eat absolutely anything. And then when you're starting to do the bigger jobs, then go towards looking at the Forster, the Timberwolves. Definitely
keep the blade sharp on it, and it'll do you well. So, like I said, when we were burgled before, that little thing was doing things it should never have been doing. We're doing council contracts with a little CS100. It's a bit annoying. You've got to shovel the chip back, but it's getting it done on days where you just wouldn't be able to work otherwise. So it's a really good backup chipper. And I think the best thing about it, we used to do a lot of tree work in Hampstead where you'd have to take things through flats, so it might be 2 stairs or anything.
I don't know how tree surgeons can do that.
Oh, we've got the plan. We've got the solution for that. It's not an issue. But you can take this chipper apart, carry it through, chip it in the garden. Happy days. And then the client who's got a £3-4 million flat's not got all these branches getting dragged through it.
Because there's Lawrence Ford who runs Forest Trees, there's the lads over at Red Squirrel, and there's a few others who follow on social media, and they'll put videos up going, "You're going to love today's job." Start walking up steps. I've seen one of them, they went through the first floor, down the basement, out the back, along the garden, and I'm going, I hope you put enough money on that. When they had like a top of the line Mercedes, or they were talking about buying a Ferrari, put like 20 grand on it just to make it worth it. Thankfully, we don't have that issue up in the north. We've got large enough places where we can actually get chippers to where we need to work.
I mean, you do make a good point though, and just to go further on that, I hope you got enough money on the job.
Yeah.
So this is another issue that I try and talk to other tree surgeons just for conversation, because we've got so much to learn still.
Yeah.
And just try and bounce ideas off them. But I think another issue with our industry is we make the customer's problem our problem rather than let's find a solution for the customer. But that comes at a price. If we've got to take this through your house, it shouldn't be, oh, we've got a really hard day today, we've got to try and do 2 days work in 1 day. It should be prices for 2 days, or the price extra for extra staff, the extra care, because doing a job through the house costs a lot more money, because the risk of you damaging something goes up, sky high. You can be as careful as you like, but you've only got one bit sticking out,
just
your tarpaulin,
one against the wall. Anyone know a decent plasterer?
Exactly, and then that's all your profit comes from the job. So you kind of just got to find solutions for customers, but you need to charge them accordingly for it.
Just wanted to shoot back to the share pack, because we spoke to Connor the other day. He's got a worky quad, and I asked him this question. At last, businesses are finally going, right, I can get that little machine for X amount of thousand. Finance payments are, first of all, they're less than a groundie. It's not going to ring up, oh, I've had too much at the weekend, I can't come in. It's not going to want to go home early, and it's not going to get after lunchtime and go, oh, I'm a little bit sluggish. How long did it take for you to go, right, if we get this, I'll rephrase that, was it more of a logical and productivity, or was it a case of, we want to just buy it? Did thought go into it?
A bit of both. So sometimes we impulse buy things. We're pretty bad for it. Like
Good.
we only got that grinder Literally last week actually,
Yeah.
because our 360 broke, and we thought we could wait for it to get fixed, or this has just come up from Predator. Yeah, go on then, we'll just get that. But with the Sherpa, we had a really, really big oak tree, biggest job we've ever done, that had to be felled, and to bring it through the garden, you're not going to be able to lift them, and to cut them into sizes that you're going to be quartering them, or putting them into
discs like that just to take it through,
and then all the sawdust that produces is a nightmare to clean up afterwards.
Again, little things you don't even think of.
So save some for the sake of, I think the finance on it's 140 quid a month.
Yeah, it's like the nothing.
It's nothing. It doesn't come out all the time because it doesn't fit everywhere. It probably comes out once or twice a month, and when it comes out, you think, oh, you know what? Thank God I've got it, because we kind of need to protect our bodies as much as we can. Yeah. We even need to be charging a lot more so that we can all go, look, we're retiring at 40 with knackered bodies, or we need to put things in place to minimise manual handling. I slipped disc in my back about 4 months ago, so we're just trying to do wherever you can, do as little lifting as possible, get that machine on it if you can. Even if it's a side gate, roll the logs out to the side gate and then pick it up with the Sherpa to get it on the back of the truck.
Yeah, so what trucks are you running at the moment? You're not gone with Isuzus, have you?
No, we're transit boys for life, I think.
Not got the Mercedes, none of them?
No. To be fair, we've got a newer shape transit, like 17 plate one. We've got the older shape as well, an 07, and the 07's the better one of the two. The storage in the new one's great, but the older one can take the weight much better. You can put more weight on it because it weighs less, and it's faster.
At the end of every job, do you actually, because I don't think I've actually done it that often, where you sit down and go, right, this is what we could improve on similar situations like this?
Yeah, in a way. So normally we wait until we've made a major cock up and we go, what can we learn from this? And sometimes the answer is you can't learn anything. You've just made an honest mistake, or you just haven't seen that part. It's always conifer, like I was saying before. You just haven't seen that part of the tree that's overhanging the greenhouses that you missed on the quotes. So I suppose you could say on your quotes, check everything out a bit better, but you're never going to be perfect. The main thing is to not blame anyone when that happens. So rather than me go and attack Adam and go, how did you mess this up? How did you miss this? Or vice versa. And to be fair, it's normally me who messes it up. We just go, here's what it is. Let's just see it through. Don't cancel on the customer. Just get the job done and learn from it, I suppose.
Do you have a plan for where you and Adam want the business to go?
Yes, maybe. Sort of. So we don't want to expand into a second gang pretty much. Like I said, unless we're turning away 1,500, £2,000 a day, pretty much consistent work, we don't want the stress of another gang. Don't think there's that much money to be made in this industry compared to, like, say, building or anything like that. We'd rather specialise in certain areas. So if we can get a full-time person doing stump grinding, that's great because it's only one extra member of staff. We want to get one of those spider lift utes. Not cheap, but sort of a 21-metre one with obviously narrow tracks and the ability to work in shopping centres, and then try and sort of branch into, yes, we'll use it on our own jobs, but potentially rent it out with an operator. Just try and get the profit up as high as possible whilst keeping it as few people as possible, really.
So a lot of businesses, we did it ourselves. We went out and we looked at absolutely everything, rails, power lines, commercial, domestic, hedge cutting, and we spread ourselves so thin over everything. We were literally jack of all trades, master of none. You've done the opposite. You went, right, we've hammered domestic, let's look at commercial, let's really focus on the commercial. What do we need to do for RAMs? What do we need to do for getting CSCS cards and everything? Was that a case of you going where the money is, or was it a bit of a joint decision from the team?
A bit of both. So I do like some domestic. So if you get a really nice customer, it's great, happy days, and the job's kind of, it's just got a bit depressing after a while trying to do tree work properly. And then they're absolutely asking you to bash the living daylights out of their tree. You think we've done it really nice, and then it's just a bit more. It's just easy to work from an ARB survey, 2 metre reduction or whatever. You do it and you get paid. It's just a lot more straightforward. So it's kind of that side of it. And then we sort of learn that you can charge a lot more money for commercial work. And I think that's because the commercial clients understand you are running a business. You do need to make a profit. Whereas I feel like domestic customers, they kind of feel that you shouldn't be making a profit. and we're not running a charity. I can't do your tree at cost price.
Yeah, I've had this thought before where they kind of expect you to do it for the wood.
Yeah.
I've had that before going, well, why don't you just sell the firewood? Well, no, and then you rock up with 50 grand's worth of equipment and going, that is actually one of my biggest gripes.
Yeah.
I can remember it now, it's just come back to me. The customer said to me, well, don't you do it for the wood? And I'm holding myself back now because I'm not allowed to swear as much anymore. But I want to say to them, do you do your fucking job for free? Well, no, I get paid. I've got taxes to pay. Well, what am I doing? Am I just coming? There'll be loads of people listening to this now going, I relate.
Yeah, I cut your grass for the dog shit. Yeah, that kind of mentality.
That's another one. We put a charge on for that. So it was only one job. It was on a bit of a council estate. I think I did okay money on it, and we got to the garden and it was just covered in dog shit. And I said to the person, it's 50 quid extra.
Yeah.
Thinking the clients would go, I'm not paying the 50 quid. They just went, there's the 50 quid. And it was a case of, great, I've got to fucking drag all the Connie through this now. So I need to pay the 50 quid. I was happy with it. Right. Question. How do I get commercial work?
It's a question I'm still asking myself a little bit. We're quite new into it. We get a lot of our work just through the phone, where builders call you direct.
Yeah.
This is probably going to be a bit controversial, and I'm really happy to be educated otherwise. But out of everyone I've asked about whether it's worth joining the ARB Association, no one's given me any tangible evidence of this is the commercial work you'll get. They'll just say you'll be more attractive and all of this.
Yes.
Every single builder I've worked for, and we've worked for local councils, two of the biggest house builders in the country, not a single one of them has asked for. All they want is, can you do Rams? Have you got Chaz? Or any other? So my advice for getting into commercial work is just get your CSCS card sorted, your Rolo, and just try and make yourself attractive to them, because what they want is, they don't mind paying more for it, but they want someone who gives them no headaches, someone who can do all of the compliance, and that's the route I would go down.
The ARB Association's a tricky one. I'm going to get myself banned from going to the AA show at this rate. I want the ARB Association to come on because I want to have a conversation with them. We looked at doing it, and it was X amount of thousand up front, and then we had that situation. Is it actually going to bring us in any work? Now, the question I'll ask you, I ask it to everyone, how many domestic clients have asked for your qualifications or your insurance?
So, never, but I always send my insurance without them asking, just to get them in a nice, happy place. It's always attached with a quote, but that's what I put when I called someone from the ARB Association. I've never once been asked. And the thing is, you join the ARB Association and you're going to work to BS 398. Your pruning cuts are going to be great and everything. The next customer you get, they don't want that. If you're on a building site and the building's got to go there, you will be asked to make cuts this big on a tree, and you shouldn't. What are you supposed to do? Say, no, I'm morally not allowed to do it. And they say, well, the building's still got to go there, so we're just going to call someone else. That's Adam's biggest problem with it as well, is he's fully on board with it if it was actually upheld to a standard that they're making you work to. But, you know, all the council companies, none of the trees are pruned to in line with the ARB Association.
Judged like pollarded, like don't care. That's the thing. I'm not against the ARB Association. I think standards do need to be involved in the industry. But you look at the two rope working at the moment, which we'll probably speak about later, that's another £1,000 per person on top. And then you look at the ARB Association costs of getting them out, and then the amount of planning, obviously going for your Chaz and your Rolo and all that, you still have a level of paperwork. But I've seen files that thick just to get ARB approved, and I'm going, what is it actually for? Because any new businesses that say to me, oh, we need to be ARB approved, I'm like, go speak to a few people, go and speak to the guys who are ARB approved. And unless it's guaranteeing you the working, it's not really worth it. You're not really looking at going ARB approved, but you're still getting those commercial contracts, the big money still coming in. I think I've asked time and time again for someone from the ARB Association to come on, and I keep getting emails, we'll be back in a couple of months.
Right.
ARB Association, please come on, because I want someone to educate me, and I don't want to sit here just having my point across to everyone. And please do let me come to next year's show as well, please.
No, I'd really like to hear it, because I think we could be wrong, but I need to be shown.
I'd like to be wrong, to be honest. Ever since I started, we always went with BS3 998. It's been that long, and got upgraded in 2010. We followed the rules from 2010 onwards. But you do that because it's a level of workmanship you want to achieve. You don't want to just go up, absolutely hack it to death, because there's other lads in the industry that'll do that for you.
But it comes down to a case of what is the customer paying for at the end of the day. And you can go back with your morals and nothing in your bank account, but what does that get you? Because they're not going to go with anyone else. And I do feel for some of the more prestigious companies, when I see their reductions, I think they're beautiful reductions, but 90% of customers, they're going to say, I'm not paying you for that.
But that's the skill is down to the arborist, not due to the regulations.
Yeah.
Because I got told I used to do beautiful reductions, and I'd look at them going, I just cut a branch. I didn't look at any like paperwork. I didn't look at any YouTube videos. I got educated by a great instructor in college, and I just know how to do a really nice broom. Yeah.
But I think only one, I might be wrong, but I think only one gang is assessed one time anyway. So if you've got six gangs or something, your pruning might be to a standard with that person, but for the others, it probably isn't, or might not be.
I have no idea, but I wouldn't be... Oh, mate, I'm slating the AA again. I'm going to get killed. I wouldn't be surprised if they just went, oh, well, that gang did it. Right, company's completely signed off. Yeah. But I do want to speak to someone because we'll have hundreds of questions.
Let's hope we're wrong anyway. Let's just hope we're wrong.
Let's hope we're wrong. Yeah. Right, another one of them, because you sent me a message saying we can help businesses get paid as well.
Yeah.
How? Go on then. So
I've had one bad occasion where money's been involved, but in 6 years we've never not been paid. So we the main thing is rather than trying to go down the route of I'm going to take them to court and everything, which you should do, but there's so many things you can put in place first so that never happens, and that is the last thing you want to do, is take someone to court. So it all comes from how you conduct yourself from the initial quote. If we're talking about domestic clients, go in, give them a clear quote, outline specifically what you're doing. So if you're doing a cutback, I'll send a map across with the start points here, the end points there. This is what's covered. Or if you're felling a certain number of trees, you've got to name the species. You've got to say how many it is. You've got to have it. Pretend you're going to court on every quote that you send, and you'll make sure it's watertight every time that way.
That is kind of it's annoying to have to think that, but that's actually a really good way of going about it.
Yeah. So you've always got to be on the defensive. Even the nicest customer in the world, I'm still going to be like that. And also, it's beneficial to the customer, because I don't think the majority of people go out their way to have a problem with the job at the end of it. I think they want something done. You've just got to understand exactly what they want and give them the opportunity at the point you send the quote. Is this everything we spoke about? Is this all covered?
Well, it's like you said at the start. If the customer's ringing you, the intent to purchase your service is pretty much already done. It's the customers that go, oh, I'll get a couple of quotes. I think I've had it in the past. I've done some stuff, but we will go into. But it's a case of, well, the customer's already kind of reached to us. We don't have to really give them the sales pitch. Yeah. We just have to say to them, look, we're going to go and do the Quakers Rover in the back. We're going to do a 20% reduction. We're going to take all the waste away. This is it in black and white. I know my quotes. My quotes would say fell tree in rear garden.
Yeah.
Right, could be any tree. Right, which one? But your quote, you've got a real process in place where the client gets what they want at the start, booked in. They then get the insurance sent over with the quote, any other amount of paperwork. Do you include all the TPO checks and all that?
Yeah. So never go off what a customer's done or checked. Every single one will tell you, no, as far as I know, it's not a conservation area, and pretty much so much in North London is. Yeah. So kind of, not that we don't believe them, but I feel like we've got a duty to protect our clients. So I think it's better that they know their tree's protected, even if you don't get the job. If they want to go with someone else, and we'll get into this later on, this is a real problem in the industry, who will do it even though it's a TPO tree. That's up to them. I know I can sleep at night and go, I've done what I need to do. But going back to sort of the quotes, you've got to have your terms in there and be really careful with your wording. So where you were saying about fell in the tree, we would always say something like fell to ground level, and then we'll have in our terms the definition of ground level. So we will cut the stump as low as feasibly possible. Now, if there's a post growing out through that stump, you're only going to be up to there. You're only going to be able to cut it to there. You're not going to start getting involved in doing all of that unless the customer has asked you to and you've put a grind on or whatever. You're trying to preempt issues before they've happened.
You don't get taught how to run a business in college. You get taught how to do the job. But going to learn how to run the business itself. Even saying, right, we'll cut it to a maximum of 150 off the ground, for instance. Again, I never used to do any of that.
Yeah.
Again, those little things that people will be listening to going, oh yeah, I need to actually include that. The other big thing, terms and conditions. I've never had terms and conditions, and I went 6 years of chancing it by the sounds of it.
Yeah, I think you've really got to have them in there to protect yourself. Like the sort of the main ones that we would have in ours typically are just defining what a cut to ground level is. So that's probably the most common dispute you'll get with a customer if you just started out is, can you cut this stump lower? And obviously if you've got a piece of rod in there or anything that you saw on the quote, or it transpires that it's in there once you've started cutting, you didn't see it on the quote, you've got that to cover. You say, look, I've cut it as low as I possibly can, and you put that in your terms, the cut to ground level will be as close to ground level as feasibly as possible.
Yeah. I think with terms and conditions as well, it offers that client some level of professionalism, because you'll download applications off the internet, terms and conditions, click here, you sign. It could be buying your house for £1 for all you know. But if you send your terms and conditions, it clearly outlines what's going to happen when we turn up.
Yep.
These are the payment terms and conditions. This is, again, all your definitions on the job. I think it's a little bit different now. I don't know, many businesses are listening going, right, terms and conditions, how do we go about it? What do we need to include, and how can we not get screwed over?
Yeah, so I think like the main things you want to get in there definitely is just use it as a tool to help you as well. So, and these are all things we've learned over years of not asking. So, can you keep the side access as clear as possible? So you haven't got a load of pots and pans. If they're an elderly customer, or you're going to go and do it. It's not an issue, but it helps with that. Put in your payment terms. So for like domestic customers, we want to be paid upon completion, either with cash or bank transfer. Obviously, everyone does bank transfer. We don't accept card payments.
I was going to say, you looked at doing card payments.
I don't want to lose 1.7% of my money each year. I'm going to get paid either way. Everyone can do a bank transfer, or worst case, they can give you cash, or if it's an elderly person, we will accept a cheque. Obviously, ideally not, but we will accept a cheque.
When was the last time you got given a cheque?
I think this building company, just so they get an extra 7 days of you not paying them, they sent us a cheque out the other week. So fairly common still, actually, unfortunately. And then other things that we'd put in there is, and a bit of a controversial one, is the cancellation policy.
Oh, go on.
Yeah, so we've got in our terms, if you cancel us with either less than 5 working days notice, the full amount of the job is due. And that's not so that we can try and win job, just get the money without actually working it. It's more so that the customer reads it and goes, right, okay, this is actual business. We need to respect what they need, because I've still got to pay all the staff tomorrow. We've still got that £608 plus VAT running cost that's due tomorrow. I can't pay less of my insurance this month because I didn't work on Friday. So the intention isn't ever to charge anyone.
Yeah.
Only ever happened once, and we can talk about that later on if we want to talk about small claims. But other than that, it just prepares the customer to go, look, I'm not going to mess him around. I'm not going to cancel him because the plumber's come in, or because I wanted to go for a walk at 1 o'clock with my mate down the park. So it removes that. It removes then an argument with a customer, because everything's set out in your terms. They know what to expect, and it's just so much easier that way. So much easier.
I think I'll move my chair further away from the mic. Yeah, no, that's that one. Sorry, mate. So what happens when you've got to refer to your terms and conditions, and you've got that issue with the clients? How do you go about it? Because I've been given some really bad advice, and I'm going to tell a story.
Yeah.
And I do regret doing it. But how do you... Honestly, loads of lads in the industry have done it, and they're all going, he took the chip back to the site and dumped it on the driveway, didn't he? That's what he's done. But yeah, so what do you do in those situations where you've completed the works to your standards, you're happy with it, the clients said, yes, at the time, everything's great, you've not heard from them, it's past the... What are your payment terms? Do you
pay on completion? On completion. So just have the conversation with at the end. Are you happy with it? Always make sure, are you happy with everything? And then we'll do a walk around of the garden at the end. Are you happy with the clean up?
Yeah.
Is everything being done how you expected it to be? Yes, yes, yes. All right, great. How would you like to make payment today? And then it's getting the ball rolling. But the number one thing to get yourself paid on time, send your invoice the same day. Yeah. So if they go, I'm going to do a bank transfer, you go, all right, I'll send you an invoice, and I'll send the invoice when I'm in the van, or I'll send it as soon as I get home.
So you do that straight through QuickBooks to the email address?
Yeah. So get it straight through. Well, I actually send it through an email just so I can add a bit of chaff to it. Lovely working for you and all that sort of stuff. So yeah, send it out straight away, and then they respect that you need to be paid as a business. And touch wood, we've never had an issue. We're always paid pretty quickly. There might be there's people that have had to go on payment plans because they've.
Oh, that's go on. I've not had to do that at all.
So where there might be like someone who's elderly on a pension, or they said, look, I really need to get this dangerous tree dealt with. I want to go with you out of everyone. Yeah. You were a bit more money. I can't afford to pay you it in one go. And you can tell if someone's genuine. You go, look, will it help you if we do it over 3 months or 4 months or whatever? Does that help you out? Yeah. If they say yeah, you just sign up a little contract that they're happy with and send it across, and it helps them out, helps us out, because we're still doing work. We haven't lost the job. Yeah.
I'll ask you the question: do you stick interest on it?
No.
Just, so, I know I can just imagine some businesses like 1.2% per month.
Only for late payments, and it's charged at 8% a year. But no, I wouldn't do anything like that. If someone's in like going through a tough time financially, I don't think it's right to try and take advantage of them.
No. Have you ever had to take anyone to court and go down that route?
Once. It's super easy to do, but it should always be your last and final resort.
Let me stop you there, sorry mate. So before you get to court, what have you done with the client to try and get them to pay?
Yeah, okay, so let's say it's a dispute about, because it could be one of two things: someone who just doesn't want to pay you, or it's more likely they're disputing the spec of the job. They'll say it was cut back to boundary, and they're like, it's 2 inches over the boundary still. I'm not paying you. I've had that before. Yeah. So the best thing you can do is refer back to your spec and say, look, this was covered up to this, and if it's still not really clicking with them, or there's still an issue there, see if you can talk about it. Try and put everything in writing at that point. So I kind of, if the situation gets a bit nasty, and again, this has happened only a handful of times, avoid conversations on the phone. Just put everything in writing, so everything's recorded, what you've said to them, what they've said to you, because you need to show to the courts that you've tried to do everything other than just take them to court, because you can lose a case just based on the court saying you haven't tried anything else. So we'll try and open up a conversation, because I don't want to get a bad review out of it. I don't want to upset someone. It might just be a misunderstanding. So we'll try and go through it. If that's not got any further, we will... your sort of next stage is you need to do a letter before action. So either send them a letter or send them an email saying, look, these are my points. This is the amount that's still owed. I need this paid within 14 days or 7 days or whatever. If no response is found to this letter, or you haven't paid it in 14 days, we are going to have to escalate it. I'm going to start court proceedings. Yeah. Now, for a lot of, let's say a typical domestic client's going to be a cost between 500 and 2,000, something like that. Yeah. So you'll be paying between £25 and £50 to start those proceedings.
That's nothing. Do you also get to claim that back?
Yes.
It's costing you nothing. So when you're having to file all the paperwork, do all the chasing about it, are you allowed to add any extra fees on that to cover that, or is it just for the job?
I would recommend steering away from it. So you can I think you can claim £90 a day if you've got to attend court. There's a few other things, but try and avoid that. Just try and keep the issue nice and clear. It's money for this job. Try not to add anything. Don't rub salt into the wound with the client. But what you should really do after you start that process of small claims, in most cases will go, right, I know this is quite serious, and they'll pay you up straight away. Especially if you've put all your points clearly in there, you've put forward your evidence, the accepted quote. So another tip would be, when you send a quote through, customers sometimes, and I'm sure they've got good intentions, call you up and say, I want to go ahead with that quote, 1429, to get my 2 trees done. When can you do it? So straight away, just go, that's really great news. Can you drop me an email just saying, you've accepted the quote, you accept our terms, and you're happy to proceed, and then I'll get back to you with some dates. And everyone's always fine with doing that, and then that's covered you instantly.
Yeah, I've never actually thought of saying that to clients. Say, look, I need something in writing from you to confirm the works. That's where I went wrong. On the spot, there's the price. Yeah, okay, I'll ping you an invoice at the end of it once you gave me the cash.
Too trusting. And then, too trusting. Yeah, and you can come unstuck through that.
Yeah. So the story I've got is there was a new build. We had, I think, 12 conifer trees down the side, 2 silver birches in the back. It was prune the birches, take out the conifers because you want to put a fence in. Probably like 800 quid or something like that. Went along, did the work, didn't hear anything from them for a week. It was on the main road into where we were living, so I had to go past it every day, and I seen him there one afternoon, and I just thought, it might just be busy, I'll pull over, have a little chat with him. Basically told me to F off and he's not paying it. So wow. I was a bit like, well, we did you a discount, mate, because you're in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
So I was a bit like, all right, too trusting, being really bit in the arse with this one. And I said to him, right, I don't know who told it me. He's probably listened to the podcast and he's going, I didn't say that, Tom. No, that wasn't me. But he just went, right, you've taken the waste off his side, but he's not paid you for it, so it's technically still his waste. I was young, I was in the early 20s. So what does this scouse idiot do? Right, lads, let's load the van up, let's take it back to him. We took about 2.5 transit loads away.
Yeah.
Went and dumped it on his driveway. Yeah. Neighbours all came out, he came out, and he started using that I'm disabled card, and that made me look like the biggest scumbag in the world. And I'm standing there going, hang on, he owes me 800 quid. Yeah. I'm just doing this and all that stuff. Right, eventually, what really proper pissed me off, he went into the house, came out, there's the cash. What did I have to then do then?
Scoop it all back up.
Yeah. So who's the idiot? This guy. So my own fault. But I've heard stories of, let's just say, tree surgeons being taken care of in alternative ways. It's the only way I can describe it.
I mean, it's and you probably feel great whilst you're doing it, and then you've just got to bear in mind your reputational risk there.
Oh yeah,
you're going to get
like
a load of bad. If you've gone in sign-written vans, people are just going to take it out of context. You've been fly tipping. Post pictures everywhere, you're just going to give yourself a big headache.
Turning your t-shirts inside out doesn't work, does it?
Not if you've got a van out the front.
A few people know about that one, don't they?
So yeah, wouldn't recommend that.
Yeah. So everything is really clear cut from when you engage with the client to where the job's done, and I think that's where a lot of businesses do struggle to go, right, the people listen to this now going, right, I need to have terms and conditions, we need to make sure we get not just verbal agreement, but written agreement from the client. And everything else to go along with it. Yeah,
and then so if say things have gone really, really south, you're still not getting anything out of them. And like I say, this has happened to us once before. We were cancelled 3 times of this client, and the first 2 times I said, look, all right, I understand, no problem. I'll figure out some other work for tomorrow. When it happened the 3rd time, and he cancelled me at 9:00 at night. Before the job,
you just know that's a client who's not got the money or doesn't want the work doing.
He had the money. It's just that he wasn't communicating with his builder, and the skip wasn't moved, and all of this sort of stuff. And just on the 3rd time, I thought, you know, this I've done everything to. And so you go down the court route. So you've put in the things. Now, a lot of the time, people will pay you from that point. But then the next stage of it is ADR, so alternative dispute resolution. Yeah. So you've got 2 avenues you go down with that. Okay. So you've got arbitration, you've got mediation.
I've heard of the mediation one, I know what that is.
Yeah. So arbitration is like having almost like a private court. So it's helpful for, like in construction industries, you can get someone who has inside knowledge on the industry, who can make an informed decision once they've weighed up all the evidence.
Like an expert witness type person.
Sort of, like but you basically both parties agree to be bound by what this independent person finds at the end. So his ruling decides, so it's quicker than going to court, basically.
You hope he's on your side then, don't you?
You do, but you need to go into it with, I've accepted it, and if you're wrong, it's really hard to appeal against. So the other option is mediation, and that's 100% the route you should always go down. So that'll have like a neutral party, who may not have any knowledge of it. He'll take the evidence from, well, not evidence, but the situation from both people, and this can all be done over the phone. So no one's got to go to court, no one needs to do anything like that. And when you're in a deadlock with someone, sometimes you just need that neutral party to come and go, actually, Harley, you're quite unreasonable there, and like it's, you know, this person's quite ill, he didn't have time to communicate with the, you know, or whatever, or vice versa with the person I'm trying to get the money back from, and then you just go, let's do that. And obviously, if that doesn't work out, start your proceedings. You will start to incur a bit more costs if you've actually got to have a hearing date where you've got to attend court. But again, another thing is, if you're dealing with commercial clients, sometimes just getting the court date is enough, because if they don't turn up or they don't respond to the case before you've even organised, you'll win automatically, and you can then get the judgment CCJ put on them, and there's a whole other story to then pursue them for the money.
Yes, Do you have a credit check, people?
Yeah, always.
Oh, so even domestic jobs?
No, sorry. So never domestic.
Commercials.
Yeah, I don't think you have the right to
I have no
credit
idea.
check. I'm not sure, but I don't think you have the right to credit check domestic. I wouldn't anyway, but definitely with commercial clients, because if you use something like Credit Safe, it will give you a maximum contract limit. So if they've been really bad at paying their invoices and you're subbing for them, for example, and they're saying the credit limit that they would give is £500 or £2,000, even if they're turning over £5-10 million a year, if they're saying only give them £500 credit limit, they've not been paying their invoices on time, or their accounts are looking really bad, that they're at high risk of going into liquidation or something. So always with commercial clients.
What are the payment terms with commercial clients?
Generally speaking, we set ours at 14 days, unless the client imposes it's going to be 30 days end of month or 60 days end of month.
That annoys me, because I had this issue not that long ago where we did some work for someone and they gave me 60-day credit terms, and I looked, it's the first time it's ever happened, I looked at it and went, how can you give me 60-day? Right, you've hired me in to do the work, I've completed the work, you've signed off on it, now you're going to take 60 days to pay me. I went off and I got paid a lot sooner because I kicked off.
It's just one of those things you got to be able to say. It kind of goes back to what I was saying before. You want to have 3 months cost in your bank account at all times. So if our cost of £12,000 a month, we don't want to ever dip below 36 grand in the bank. So by having that, these 60-day terms, they don't really matter to us.
Yeah, it matters to me because I didn't have that type of money in the bank.
I get that, but it's sort of as you build yourself up as a business, if you want to deal with the big boys, that's just par for the course.
I wouldn't have thought of that. I'm thinking, right, I know I'm not going to get paid 60 days, so I've got to fill in extra work. But if you go, right, that 60-day invoice is £1,200, I'll just put the £1,200 to the side and I can just wait on it. I've heard of big housing companies put small businesses on 180-day payment terms.
Yeah, I don't know if I'd be up for that.
No, absolutely ridiculous. And we're talking like a couple of grand invoices, and they're building 120, 150,000 pound homes, and you're going, this can't work in this industry. The whole notion of basically taking the piss, paying people. The person who's issuing the money to that person, they'd go mad if they didn't get paid for 60 days.
Yeah.
But even 30 days, I know is a stretch for some businesses. The 14 days, I like that approach. 7 days is what we aim for. Absolutely for always to be 7 days. But for a business to have to go, to jump through all those loopholes of getting all the accreditation, then find the commercial work, do everything to, at the end, for someone to then go, 60-day payment terms, Tom, come back then. You go, why?
Yeah, and it's worse because if anyone who's watching this who's worked for building companies before, they'll call you up and they'll say, right, they want all your stuff over, we need you here Monday. Yeah. So it's kind of throwing salt in the wall because they want you there basically at such short notice, and then so normally when they need you at such short notice, I'll bounce back and say, right, but I will go out my way to do this for you next week, but we need to have a chat about your payment terms and get those reduced. So you definitely can reduce them, but
do you look out for like any warning signs? Because obviously you do the credit check, which will probably flag everything court.
Yeah.
But when you arrive to either commercial or well, not really commercial because you don't really tend to see anyone on commercial sites. But with domestics, do you ever see any warning signs where you just go, we're not interested in actually doing this work?
Yeah. There's been, I think, like a 90 grand job, which is massive for us, that we turned away because we dealt with them before, and it was such a pig to get paid out of them. And just the way that they operated was a nightmare. You know, you've got the whole site to yourself. Great, okay, so we're straight felling the trees. It's in a car park. Everything's cool. When we got there, piling machines, there's diggers going up, so you couldn't straight fell some of them. And just the way they operated, we thought, right, if that was bad on an 8 grand job, what's it going to be like on a 90? So just,
don't want to put yourself in that position, do you? I'm just even thinking of it.
No.
I don't know if you would, how do you compare yourself to other companies in the area? Do you get on with them all? Can you ring them up? Do you all go for a pint? Or do you just show them the pigeon as you go past?
No, never. I mean, I feel like it's a bit different to other industries. I don't really see other tree companies as rivals. I feel like we're all in it together. We're all doing a fairly tough and sometimes crappy job. Yeah. If we can bring up everyone's level, that would be great. If we can get everyone charging the right money, get people away from sort of treating it as it's me and a groundie. Yeah. Because it's not like an electrician who you can go, it's me and the apprentice and 5 grand's worth of tools. with tree surgery, because of the cost to get set up, you could do 40 grand setting up a...
Oh, easily.
Yeah, easily, yeah. A 3-man crew. You've got to be running it like a business from the get-go. You can't be, charging 300s, 400s a day.
I think that's where a lot of people don't do it. Because obviously you've, since day one, you've had your head kind of screwed on with it.
Very kind of you.
I'll let you have that. But with a lot of people, they do as like foreigners. I was speaking to it's a future guest coming on, they're not being announced now, but we were speaking to them and went, oh no, I still had an office job similar to what you had, and I was going out doing that weekends, and it took him not that far off how long it took you to get started.
Yeah.
And I went, so when you started on that date, how many other businesses were in that area compared to where you finally went, right, I'll go as a limited company, for instance. How many other businesses started up at the time? And loads, and went, well, you're behind all of those companies now, and you're still going to struggle for the next good couple of years unless you're bang on with absolutely everything. Yeah. And it's going to be like a bit of a low-end startup podcast to say you can be a climber, you can kind of go do subbies, foreign jobs at the weekends and all that. So are you sole trader, limited, PLC, you've got investors,
maybe one day.
You have board meetings?
No, limited, but you've got to go limited in this industry.
Yeah.
I wouldn't recommend anyone going sole trader. So my advice for anyone when you're starting out is get yourself a separate bank account, business bank account straight away. Then you've got everything separate rather than just going, I can take this much this month. Get yourself on PAYE so you know what you're taking every month, and then you know what your consistent running costs are. When you're a sole trader, again, I'm not an accountant, so I think you're still liable. You're potentially personally liable. Should, especially if you're employing a few people, they drop a tree on, God forbid, someone or a house, they can then pursue you and take my house with my partner away from me. It should be a completely separate entity. Just go limited, and it's a lot more tax efficient as well. If you go limited, you can take dividends and you can go down different routes to minimise that tax bill at the end of it.
Well, HMRC, stop listening from about now. Right, VAT registration. Why aren't businesses going VAT reg?
I was that guy at the beginning. I didn't want to go VAT registered.
I'm speaking to the wrong person. Why?
So at the beginning, definitely. I was trying to work out, could I set up 2 companies? Could we have the tree surgery company? We'll do a landscaping company, and we'll move the stump grinding stuff over there. We can stay under 85k a year. But if you think about it, 85k a year is nothing. It works out as £7 grand a month, which is 350 quid a day. Yeah. So there's not many tree surgery companies that can operate on 350 quid a day. So just do it. As soon as we went VAT registered about a year and a half ago, 2 years ago, our business transformed. So we went from having like a £600 day rate in our mind to now we want to be like 1,200 plus VAT, something like that, or way more. Whereas before, I feel like you limit yourself a little bit, but once you've broken through the threshold, you're not trying to keep costs down. You just go for it.
It frees up businesses, because we did the same, and the look on my face when the accountant went, you can claim the last couple of years back. I went, oh, that's a new chipper for my business. That's productivity getting increased. That's money that I can straight away reinvest into the business. And when it came in, I'll be honest, I shit a brick. I went, oh my God, HMRC have just paid me how much? I went absolutely berserk. I went out there. We went to the local pub for the afternoon, and everyone got treated. But again, when we buy large equipment, a chipper, 25 grand, a shaper, what are they, like 11 plus grand? The van alone, 30 grand if it's outright. It is a lot of money.
And your fuel every month. So like our first month of going VAT registered, you tend to, so I think it's about 5 years you can go back on like plant and vehicles and stuff, and then it's 6 months for I can't remember off the top of my head.
Find an accountant, disclaimer, we're not qualified.
So the first month that we went VAT registered, they paid us like 12 grand. We're like, yes, that gives us cash flow now. And then after a while, you just start moving the VAT money separate, or QuickBooks keeps a live tally of what you owe. So it's really not as daunting as you think, and it's definitely the way forward.
The reason why I think people don't go VAT registered is because they have to go, it's 100 quid plus 20%, the job's now 120 quid, and you think that client's going to scare off. There's been a lot of times where I've had clients and went, could you make out to the business, please? So they're not fussed about the VAT whatsoever.
You will get asked a lot to then this is a topic in itself. Can you knock the VAT off for cash? And just to be honest, I got taught from a chap who owns a big tree surgery company and a tipping site in North London, and I was tipping there one day and I said, "Oh, how do you want to be paid? I've got cash for you if you want cash." And he went, "Oh, card if possible." What? Card? I was like, cash is king, isn't it? And he gave me some really good advice. He said that the moment you get away from cash, the moment you're really starting to run a business, and just get away from the idea of cash and taking it yourself. You'll earn more money from money that's in your business than you will in your back pocket, because you only spend it if it's in your back pocket.
Yeah, because I've had it in the past where we've been paid cash. I've gone to the petrol station half an hour later to fill everything up. I forgot the receipt, and then I've now my quote doesn't match up the income to the business. My accountant's ringing me up going, "You absolute so and so," and then I'm going, "Well, what actually did I make at the end of the month?" And that. If it happens on one job, then the next job, then the next job, and then you go, "Oh great, we quoted 450 grand's worth of work this year. We won it. All right, why have we only got 206 in paid invoices? What's going on here?"
Yeah.
And it's those little ones that soon add up. But again, everyone says cash is king.
It's not anymore.
I don't. Yeah. You've
It
got
was.
to see the numbers black and white for you to go, right, we are doing okay, or we need to kind of change a few little things.
Yeah, you just can't. You need it as a metric to see how you're doing as a business. So
Right, mate. We're coming to the end of the podcast. Doing a new thing called our quick fire round, which seems to be a little bit of a hit. Right, blunt chainsaw or blunt chipper?
Blunt chipper. Yeah.
More staff or more machines?
More machines every day of the week.
Hetzel or DMM?
You're asking the wrong guy here. Hetzel.
All right, favourite accounting software?
Oh, QuickBooks.
QuickBooks. I'm a free agent guy, mate. Early start or early finish?
Early finish.
And then biomass for the future or firewood?
Biomass.
It's one to go, isn't it?
Yeah.
Right, Harley, if people want to reach out to you, ask you any more questions, some financial advice, some business advice, how can they connect with you?
Just get at me on Instagram at KW Tree Care. Pop any questions. I like to do my best to try and help anyone. Send us some questions through. It might be easier if I then give you a call back. Yeah. But I love talking this stuff, and there's so much we can all learn off each other in this industry and get the prices up for everyone. Just let's have the conversation.
Harley, thank you very much for having us down, mate.
Thank you.